These aren't visuals from an international match. It's no bilateral game involving India. This is a domestic match in an Indian city. That's right. You had to see it to believe it. That is, if you weren't there at the stadium yourself or watched it live. Apparently, the broadcasters were not going to telecast an insignificant Railways versus Delhi Ranji game, but they made a hurried U-turn just as Virat Kohli flew in to the Indian capital city, and a flurry of activity, of course, unfurled. India's star cricketer Virat Kohli's domestic cricket return was a festival, and he's yet to come into bat. The game that started earlier today ended Kohli's 13-year-long break from Ranji Trophy. Fans queued up from 5 a.m. to try and get a glimpse of the star who is the son of the soil. And 5 a.m. these days in the capital city is a little chilly, cold and foggy, but of course none of that was any concern for thousands of fans who came in hordes. Of course, there were chants of RCB, which is Royal Challengers Bengaluru, the club that Virat Kohli plays in at the Indian Premier League, and that's what was echoing through the Arun Jaitley Stadium in New Delhi. The DDCA, the Delhi Cricket Association, this time were forced to open multiple enclosures, unlike the lone single stand that they would always end up opening for earlier domestic games, for the crowd to be seated this time, because that is how low the turnout usually has been. And just like every other Kohli match, India International, or like we see a domestic game, this one had plenty of drama too, and not the kind that Kohli himself was involved in. A stampede broke out outside the stadium. Few fans were reportedly injured, and a police vehicle was damaged too, as fans jostled to catch Kohli on a cricket field with his state-mates after a decade. I say state-mates, but almost all of his teammates were in school, were kids dreaming of becoming the next Virat Kohli when this superstar last played domestic cricket.
काफ़ी एक्साइटेड हैं सारे, बहुत मोटिवेटेड भी हैं उनके आने से, एंड उनका एक प्रेजेंस ही सबको लाइवली करता है.
And that feeling was mutual. Ayush Badoni, who you saw there, the captain of the Delhi side, was sharing the dressing room with the person he grew up watching, one of his idols. So obviously fans wanted any chance they could get to see if they can get up close to Kohli, resulting in, yes, a pitch invasion. Of course, CRPF had to intervene and handle the situation. The Delhi Cricket Association had prepared for something like this. Security had been beefed up. It was, after all, the king coming back to his own kingdom. I can only imagine the mayhem when the star walks out to bat with his swagger and the cricket bat swinging, because this city has hardly watched Kohli play. Forget domestic cricket, Delhi hasn't had the opportunity to host too many international matches featuring Kohli. Apart from 3 one-dayers that he was a part of, including the match against Afghanistan at the ODI World Cup in 2023, Kohli has played just 4 matches in his favourite format in this city, his city of birth. The last one, of course, coming 2 years ago, around about that, against Australia, a team he loves to play up against. A match where Kohli, sitting in the dressing room with the then coach Rahul Dravid, got thrilled when his food parcel arrived. Of course, speculations of which went viral. Could it be the chickpea dish, chole bhature, that he's always loved and spoken about, or a kidney beans gravy with rice, the traditional Rajma Chawal? Another reason for this chaotic frenzy to try and catch Kohli, a lot of the encounters Delhi hosted gave birth to only controversies. Whether it was the horrible pitch on offer at one time or the smog that affected the match in 2017 against Sri Lanka, which forced the visiting cricketers, who were all masked up, to stop playing entirely. And despite being a stadium in India's capital city, it hasn't produced the kind of spectacle that fans here have longed for, especially spectacle that involves their favourite Virat Kohli, which meant Delhi hardly got the chance to embrace their prodigal son. Ironical now, considering Kohli is far away from that Delhi boy who still stays to his roots. Well, the attitude and aggression aside, he no longer lives in the city, plays for another franchise, a city that seems to have taken ownership of Virat Kohli, Bengaluru, no longer breeds the kind of food that he grew up on here, none of that junk food for the fitness enthusiast that Kohli went on to become. He's a new Kohli. No wonder then the craze. This was the only chance fans would get to see him in his original habitat.
सुबह 7:30 बजे से आया हूँ मैं, 3 दिन से आया हुआ हूँ यहाँ पे। मेरी आईडी भी है, यूपी से आया हुआ हूँ, यहाँ दोस्तों के पास रुका हुआ सिर्फ मैच देखने के लिए, विराट कोहली के लिए। ये सिर्फ विराट कोहली की वजह से है भीड़, नहीं तो रणजी का कोई क्रेज नहीं। पहले भी मैच हो चुके इस ग्राउंड पे रणजी के, लेकिन कोई इतना क्रेज नहीं, कोई इतनी पब्लिक नहीं पहले।
बहुत बड़ा फैन हूँ विराट कोहली का बचपन से ही। मैं आया हूँ शक्ति नगर सिंधोरा कला से, पहली बार देख रहा हूँ इतना भीड़ में। और भी मैच देखने आया हूँ उधर, मगर पहली बार इतना रणजी ट्रॉफी में इतना भीड़ पहली बार सिर्फ विराट कोहली का ही क्रेज है और किसी का नहीं।
विराट का ही क्रेज है, दिल्ली का कप्तान कौन है?
आयुष धोनी दिल्ली का कप्तान, मगर सारे फैंस यहाँ पे विराट कोहली के लिए ज़्यादा आए हैं।
At least he answered the quiz right. The interview, of course, tried to put that fan on the spot, but well done there. But it isn't just the on-ground presence that proves just what an absolute star, a crowd magnet that Kohli really is. He ruled digitally too. He made Ranji Trophy the second most trending search online, a 400% spike in just a few hours. And he's not even down to doing what he does best, bat. What this, of course, episode and this day has shown is love him, hate him, you simply cannot ignore Virat Kohli. And this was Delhi's way of reminding him where he truly comes from and of his humble beginnings. We're calling the show Vantage. We hope you like what we put together for you. Touted as the minimum defense from that video. India's neighbours were the first to send the special edition of Vantage live from the White House throughout this week. Yes, Hindu Mandir in we're on our way to Tel Aviv. Pretty measure, but it's also the perfect way to drive.
I don't think that
Prime Minister of Bhutan, Sherin Tagwe. Welcome to
60% of the world's
office. Prime Minister Modi did the iron.
we were actually
How are you doing? How do you like? It's been 1 year since that meeting. Iron bars separate you from the outside. Out the vote effort. Trump had, it says, and at $4.3 trillion. 4.3 300 billion by 2030. That's what we need to tackle climate change.